Guess what? The federal government of Nigeria has budgeted for a fight before a vote. So they decided to build a safety net for failure instead of a system for success. So let's talk one truth at a time. The first truth is that Nigeria has set aside 135 billion naira in the 2026 budget for electoral adjudication and post-election provision. Simple meaning, Nigeria has kept aside money for court cases before election even happens. So hold that. Let's move straight to the second truth. So this money is not from surplus. This money we're talking about is coming from budgets where the revenue is 34 trillion naira, but the spending is over 60 trillion naira. So hold that. Revenue 34 trillion, spending 60 trillion. That gap, what does that mean? Borrowing. So this means that we are borrowing money to prepare for election dispute, not to fix the election, but to fight after it. So pause there. Let's move to the third truth. The third truth is that debt servicing alone is already taking almost half of government revenue. So before we build schools, before we fix power, before we talk about healthcare, we must first pay interest. And now, we're not just talking about interest paid on imaginary projects, but we are now adding legal battles to what we fund with borrowed money. So let that sink in. Let's move to the fourth truth. The fourth truth is that INEC as a body is responsible for conducting elections. So INEC is already receiving hundreds of billions to run the process. So the question becomes, if the system is being funded to work properly, why are we now funding the expectation that it will fail? That is where the real conversation starts. But then, let's move to the fifth truth. In other systems, because Nigerians were fond of copying systems, like the United States, billions are invested upfront in election security. They invest billions for technology. They invest billions to make sure there's transparency. The goal is simple: reduce dispute before they start. But in Nigeria, we are budgeting for the dispute themselves. We're not trying to prevent it, but we are preparing for the conflict. Let's bring it further back home. The sixth truth. The sixth truth is that this 135 billion naira is sitting under service-wide votes. That is a flexible fund controlled by the executive. This money is not controlled by INEC, neither is it controlled by independent body. It is controlled by the federal government of Nigeria. It is controlled by Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So people are asking, who exactly will this money serve at the end of the day in these legal battles? Because elections are not fought by institutions, they are fought by political parties. So the federal government of Nigeria is now a political party. And if the public money enters that space, it means the federal government is keeping money for APC, which has become the federal government of Nigeria by extension. The seventh truth is that when a government plans for post-election battles at this scale, it simply means that there is low confidence in a clean outcome. Because if the system was trusted, you wouldn't need to budget heavily for disputes. The final truth is that this is bigger than 135 billion naira. This is about the direction of the country called Nigeria. Do we invest in fixing a system, or do we invest in managing its failures? Because when you borrow money to fund crisis, you're not just spending money, you're passing the cost down to people, to citizens, to some who do not even believe in the electoral process, to some who are not even interested to vote. Because at the end of the day, a system that budgets for conflict must first answer why it cannot guarantee credibility. It is a truth at the time. Take care and have a nice day.